Crypto was supposed to change everything. It was pitched as the great equalizer, a digital Wild West where code was law and everyone had a fair shot. So why, after all that hype, does it feel like nobody trusts it anymore? Remember the pitch? A financial revolution. No more banks taking a cut. No more government control. Just pure, unadulterated financial freedom. That was the promise that drew millions in. The idea was simple and powerful. Money without middlemen, secured by cryptography. A system where code, not fallible gatekeepers, would protect your assets. It sounded clean, transparent, and almost utopian, right? But today, that utopian vision is buried under an avalanche of doubt. People are losing trust, and they're losing it fast. We saw massive, gut-wrenching crashes that wiped out fortunes in hours. Billions of dollars vanished. Scandals erupted, exposing a dark underbelly of fraud and deceit. Some of the biggest platforms in the industry collapsed overnight, taking customer funds with them. Others simply disappeared, leaving a trail of broken promises and empty digital wallets. The trust that took years to build evaporated in an instant. If you want to understand what's really happening at the intersection of business, technology, and money, make sure you subscribe. And suddenly, the dream didn't just crack. For many, it shattered completely. But here's the real question we need to ask. Was the technology itself the problem? Or was it the oldest problem of all, the people behind it? Because behind every technological revolution, you'll always find the same messy, unpredictable, and powerful force: human behavior, greed, fear, speculation. Crypto didn't remove those primal instincts. In a market with no circuit breakers and 24/7 trading, it amplified them to a deafening roar. Prices exploded to unsustainable highs, fueled by hype and FOMO. Then, just as quickly, they collapsed under the weight of panic, and millions of ordinary people, who were told this was their ticket to financial freedom, learned a very hard and expensive lesson. It turns out, the market does not care about your laser-eyed profile picture, your good vibes, or your duck. But despite the carnage, the scandals, and the broken trust, crypto isn't dead, not even close. It's being forced to grow up. It's evolving. And beneath the noise of the last boom and bust, the real story might just be starting. This isn't just about what went wrong, it's about what happens next. Stay with me, we're going deeper. It's a story as old as markets themselves, just supercharged by digital speed. Here's the usual script. A mountain of hype, fueled by cheap leverage, creates a system that looks strong but is actually incredibly fragile. All it takes is one unexpected shock, and the whole thing begins to spiral. This is the deleveraging cascade. When prices fall, automated margin calls trigger forced selling. This selling pushes prices down further, triggering more margin calls. It's a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle that doesn't care about fundamentals. It's just raw, brutal mechanics. And then you discover the truth about the custodians. If a centralized platform took your deposits and, instead of safeguarding them, used them to make its own risky, leveraged bets, that's not financial innovation. That's just an unregulated casino using your money as the house funds. That's a multi-billion-dollar oops. And right on cue, the regulators arrive after the party. Usually when the house is already on fire and the expensive furniture is broken, they swing the hammer of enforcement, often punishing the entire sector for the sins of a few bad actors. The result? Scandals dominate the headlines. Shock gives way to doubt, which descends into chaos. And behind the charts and headlines, real people pay the ultimate price. Life savings, gone in an instant. Years of trust in a new financial future completely shattered. Most people still don't understand the root cause of this cycle. Subscribe if you want the truth. Because the technology isn't the problem. Blockchains are transparent ledgers. Humans? Not so much. The code is often open, but the intentions of the people running the companies built on top of it can be a black box. It's a masterclass in human psychology. Unchecked greed on the way up, fueled by a fear of missing out. Then, total denial on the way down, clinging to the hope that it's just a temporary dip. Classic. All that speculation concentrates risk into a few hands and a few platforms. Then, in the panic, liquidity, the ability to actually sell, vanishes precisely when you need it most. Getting your financial advice from anonymous avatars in group chats and social media echo chambers. What could possibly go wrong? But the crash reveals the solution. Trust can, and must, move away from fallible people and opaque companies, and into transparent processes. Self-custody, independent audits, and truly open code. And when the deafening noise of speculation finally cools, something important happens. Utility gets a chance to actually show up and be noticed. The lesson is simple. If your toaster starts giving you trading advice, it's time to unplug the toaster. Separate the hype from the hardware, because underneath all the noise and the wreckage, the fundamental rails of a new system are still being built, stronger than before. Risk itself isn't evil, it's a necessary component of growth. But hidden, unpriced, and misunderstood risk, that's the real danger. The path forward is to ask better questions, demand more transparency, and make fewer excuses for failure. Despite the headlines and the brutal market corrections, crypto isn't dead. It's being reforged in the fire. The speculative frenzy is cooling, and what's left is the core technology, quietly evolving away from the noise. This isn't a funeral, it's a hard reset. The biggest hurdles are being systematically dismantled. Scalability is improving dramatically with Layer 2 solutions, processing thousands of transactions per second, not just a handful. This means costs are finally falling from exorbitant highs to mere cents, making microtransactions feasible. As a result, access widens, moving beyond wealthy speculators to anyone with a smartphone. So what about real-world uses? They're already here. Think cross-border payments that settle in minutes, not days, without the opaque correspondent banking fees that chip away at your money. For families sending remittances or freelancers getting paid internationally, this is a game changer. It's about tokenized value, real estate, art, intellectual property, that moves at internet speed, governed by smart contracts and rules that anyone can inspect and verify. The narrative is shifting from a high-stakes casino to critical, digital infrastructure. That's the pivot. It's less about when moon, and more about how to build. Even governance is getting an upgrade, clunky and chaotic today, but the experiments in decentralized organizations are laying the groundwork for more transparent and community-led decision-making tomorrow. But none of this matters if trust isn't rebuilt from the ground up. The new foundation is radical transparency, properly aligned incentives, and anti-fragile design. This means open source code anyone can audit, and exchanges proving their solvency with verifiable proof of reserves. The era of "trust me" is over. The new mantra is "show me the receipts." It also means a return to core principles. Users hold their own keys, not entrusting them to vulnerable, centralized platforms. This eliminates single points of failure that brought the industry to its knees. The goal is to build systems that expect failure and are designed to root around it, becoming stronger with every shock. Speculation will always be here. That's human nature. But it no longer has to be the main story. The next chapter is about building real-world utility. It might look boring compared to the wild speculation of the past, but the most powerful technologies often are. Boring, useful, and unstoppable. If this helped you see the bigger picture of where crypto is heading, subscribe for more breakdowns on the business and financial forces shaping our world.